just a quick update. The Patreon page is now live. The link will be down below if you want to check it out. You'll have access to all of my betting packages and much more. Thanks again for all the support, but for now, let's get into the video.
Yo, what's up guys, we're back, and this week it's for a big card, man. We got 15 fights on this card. It's UFC Vegas 37. It's Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann in the main event. And there's some, fun fights, not a lot of name value, but, there should be some good matchups and, some good fights to watch blended into those 15. And right before, like always, before we get the video started, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsors here. First up here, we got EquitySportsAnalytics.com. They're a very good capping service. They do some of the best job in the world, and so far, they're trying to earn 96 units this year. And they also have the dividend program where if they lose money over a 1 month period, they will pay you $25 per unit lost. They're getting into the swing of things with all the new sports coming back. The NFL was just last Sunday, and I'm pretty sure, they got college football going on and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of things you can bet on, including UFC, and they do a great job. They're very, very direct in their results, and, they do a great job in, helping pay back their customers if they don't do well. But most of the time, you're going to win money betting with them, man. They do a great job, and they're usually long-term winners. So definitely give a shout-out. Check out EquitySportsAnalytics.com. Check out the packages they have. Check out the free trial, and definitely won't be disappointed. They're a great, great group of guys over there. And then next here we got the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. You can get it on the App Store, Google Play. You could go online, check it out, through iOS or through just your web browser. And it's a really good app, man. It's something that I've been doing here for a while on the channel. We got a good group of guys in MMA Prediction Guru group now that do predictions every week. And this is going to be the last week, like I said. So if you want to be in the running to get the $100, you have to sign up before the end of this week, put in your picks, and you have to be consistent putting in your picks every week, because ultimately, you do have to have some sort of, a good amount of events on there for me to, give you the $100. I don't feel it's fair for the people that have been, grinding out their picks so far. And, it's really fun. I mean, they have one championship. They got Bellator, UFC, and you put your picks in. So let's say I'm going to pick Mackenzie Dern by submission. So that would be my pick here. Whatever the odds are in Vegas, currently they do not have odds on this fight. And, if you pick the submission, you get 3 times your odds, triple or nothing odds boost. So that's something that it's pretty fun. You could see how you do betting-wise, and you could also, just see how you stack up against the competition in my group. This is MMA Twitter group here. They have you versus the world. So, you can join a lot of different groups as well. It's a really interactive app, and I really recommend it. It's fun to go on there and just check out how you stack up with your friends or with this YouTube channel or any community that you're in. So definitely think the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app is something that's really cool, and definitely should check them out. But let's get into the video here. We got UFC Fight Night Smith versus Spann. Yep. And the first fight of the night here, Emily Whitmire taking on Hannah Goldie. We got Hannah Goldie coming back really quickly after her last loss to Deanna Belbita. I believe it's 3 or 4 weeks after. And to me, that's not really a smart thing to be doing if I was Hannah Goldie. I believe it's because she did have a pretty long layoff previous to that fight. She probably, wants to get another payday. She did lose that fight, so obviously she didn't get her win bonus. But she took a lot of damage in that one. It wasn't like it was smooth sailing for her in there. She got hurt a lot on the feet, and I doubt that she's been able to train at full bore for the last 3 weeks or since she's gotten the call for this fight. She's also moving up to flyweight here, where I believe she's a smaller 115er. Even though she did fight Miranda Granger, I believe, at flyweight, and she didn't look good in that one. But she's going to be taking on Emily Whitmire, who hasn't fought in quite a while. I believe it's been almost over a year since she's fought, actually, I believe. And she is training at Syndicate MMA now. She is coming off 2 losses. She's 4-4, so this is a big, pivotal fight in her career if she wants to continue in the UFC. And she's been, trying to get ready for fights. She's had a few fights that have gotten pulled off the table for her. So she has been training throughout the whole time. Should have improved her skill set and be ready to go here. But when you look at this matchup, I mean, it's two of the lower level girls in the division. But I believe that, Hannah Goldie, she's obviously probably the superior striker. I mean, she has maybe better movement, a little bit faster. Her kicks are definitely better than Whitmire's. But Emily, she's a good pressure fighter. She's going to have the reach. And I believe her hands are a little bit better. She throws with more power and more impactfulness. But really the main thing in this fight, I believe, is going to be who's the stronger girl in the clinch, and if Whitmire can get it to the ground. Because if she can get it to the ground and she could dominate the wrestling and the grappling, then I believe that, she's going to win this fight, probably more often than not. So it's one of these fights where even on the feet, I'm not really sold Hannah Goldie could get a clear victory over Whitmire. And I do believe if the fight goes to the ground, Whitmire will have a clear advantage. So it's just one of those things where I'm not super invested into the fight betting-wise. I wouldn't bet on either side here. I do believe that, the line being pretty close to even is probably correct. But with it being Emily Whitmire's natural weight class, she has had probably a better training situation through this camp. She has better training partners, for one, and probably better coaching as well. And she also, doesn't have, the injuries coming off of a fight only a month ago. She, in my opinion, is going to be the bigger girl by a pretty significant margin. The fight, is in her natural weight class. So I'm going to go with Whitmire here. I think that she should be able to get it done, mix in some wrestling, use her jab, use her hands a little bit, and pick up the victory here over Hannah Goldie, probably by decision. And up next here we got my boy Healy Alatay taking on Gustavo Lopez. I mean, sometimes these picks just stick with you, man. Like, you guys really remember, that I picked Healy to beat Casey Kenny. It's like some of those picks, like, you guys can remember, man. But I mean, I did pick him to beat Ryan Benoit and to beat Denai Bakral as well in close fights. So I just like Alatang. I guess I like what he brings to the cage, and going to be looking to bounce back here off of that loss, obviously. He's a slight favorite against Gustavo Lopez, who also needs to bounce back off of a loss, and a guy that's kind of had a rough start against really tough guys in his first 3 UFC fights, where he got knocked out by Adrian Yanez in his last fight, who's a really high-level prospect. Fought Merab Dvalishvili on short notice for his UFC debut. He did get the finish over Anthony Burchak, but I believe he needs a win here against Alatang to guarantee a spot in the UFC. And he's a grappler. He has some power in his right hand, some decent feints, and kind of tries to work his way in for the left hook or the straight or overhand right. He will throw some overheads out there. And he has some power in both hands, and when he hurts fighters, he does have killer instinct, so that's good. He does stand tall, and his hands are really low. His chin is high. Very hittable guy. His footwork and head movement was a little bit better in his last fight, but he didn't really get off with as much effective striking. I believe that he kind of showed Yanez a little bit too much respect. But Lopez, he doesn't check low kicks. I think the right hand of Alatang is going to cause Lopez some issues. Lopez does try to stay in your face. He wants to back you up to the fence, work a combination to, get in and get the fight to the ground. But he has finished fights by strikes 3 times. Did get knocked out pretty badly in his last fight. And he's been finished by strikes twice before that as well. So his chin is a little bit suspect, I would say. But he's a strong offensive grappler. That's his game. He's an extreme couture guy. Trains with Brian Caraway. He doesn't have the best wrestling, I would say. But he has decent enough body locks. He has takedowns off the cage. And on top, he's really dangerous. He has aggressive ground and pound. He passes really well. Good submission game. And he has 11 finishes. Most of those are on the ground. He has good cardio. He's tough. And, his defensive wrestling could also be better. He can be taken down. But he has a good guillotine. He could scramble off his back. And I do think that Alatang should try to mix in the takedowns in this fight, though, because Lopez has, shown that susceptibility to getting taken down. But he has good cardio, Lopez, and he's going to be motivated coming in off that knockout loss here. For Alatang, he also is going to be motivated coming off that loss to Casey Kenny. On the feet, Alatang, he has some speed, power, good right hand, good lead and counter, straight and overhand right. And his right hand, has some power, So that's something that is going to give some issues, in my opinion, to Lopez. Good left hook as well, and he stays active with the low kicks, body kicks. If you hang in the pocket with Alateng, he will brawl with you. He's durable, he packs a punch, but he's a little bit flat-footed. Doesn't really feint, he doesn't really move his head. And Casey Kenny really lit him up in his last fight. He had really no answers for that left kick from southpaw against Casey. Really struggled to get inside, but showed good durability, took a ton of damage, and kept coming forward. He has been finished by strikes three times in his career, though. But Alateng is a good grappler. He's a Mongolian. He has 100% takedown defense in the UFC, and he's been able to get 7 takedowns in his 2 UFC wins. So his grappling just looks solid. He has not faced an opponent that's really came in with a grappling game plan against him in the UFC. He's only had to defend 3 takedowns in 3 UFC fights. But offensively, he has a good single leg. He has good timing on his doubles. He has the cardio to wrestle hard for 3 rounds. And when he gets on top, he has good top control. He isn't really super dangerous, but he can, control the position, get points. And he has cardio, he has heart, and decent all-around fighter. I got to side with Alateng here. I think that he has the speed advantage on the feet, and he's going to be able to land the right hand pretty effectively. I think he should mix in the takedowns as well, because I think he's the superior wrestler in this fight. He just needs to be careful about brawling with Lopez. He needs to be careful about getting put on bottom, about that guillotine. I don't think that Lopez is going to be able to take down Alateng effectively, though, and that's Lopez's main way to win. We saw him struggle with defensive wrestling, albeit against Merab, and he isn't much of a threat off of his back outside of the guillotine. So I think on the feet, Alateng could use his speed, the right hand, get ahead a little bit, then use his wrestling to cement the win, seal the victory. So give me Healy Alateng in this one to get the job done. And this next fight, this is a really good fight. I feel like it could be farther up on the card. We got Impa Kasanganay taking on Carlston Harris, and I believe Harris is probably going to be a underdog favorite of the week. But in my opinion, he's a good fighter. He's one of these guys that's a dynamic finisher, and I feel like that kind of covers up a lot of warts with certain guys when they can go out there and get fun finishes and look really, really dominant against certain guys. They could maybe get a little bit inflated in the eyes of some people, but I do feel like Carlston Harris is a guy that could be exposed sooner or later, but I don't know if it's going to be Impa Kasanganay that gets to do it. Impa Kasanganay, though, this is a guy that, you have to keep your eye on, because only been training only 3, 4, 5 years in MMA, not very long. Just recently, he's went to a top-level camp in Sanford MMA, and, it paid dividends against Sasha Paletnikov. Against Sasha Paletnikov, he was able to go in there with a good game plan. He had several takedowns. In the second round, he got that submission win. The drop down to 170 looked to have helped him as well. He looked like a really big guy in there, and I do believe he's going to have the strength advantage against Carlston Harris. So I do think this is a very close fight. I do get why they did initially line Impa Kasanganay as the favorite. And with Carlston Harris, what you have in him is he's really long, rangy type of guy, super long arms, and he can close that distance with really good straight punches. And he's pretty, athletic. He's improved his composure. He doesn't really just blitz in with those straight shots anymore. He'll throw his jab out there. He'll mix in some kicks from range, some front kicks, some round kicks. But to me, his kicks are not really very polished. He does have a power right hand. He throws it a little bit weird, but if he lands that right hand counter, it's powerful, and I've seen him knock fighters out with his 1-2. He's also pretty fast. He isn't the most dangerous on the feet, though, outside of the right hand. He's not the best on the back foot, doesn't have a lot of head movement, doesn't really check leg kicks. That's something that he's had issues with. I feel like Kasanganay needs to attack him in that aspect. I feel like Harris isn't the best off the back foot either, but he's a relentless grappler, man. He doesn't really shoot many takedowns in the center of the cage, but he has good speed, and he's able to back fighters up with his jab or his long crosses, and when he can get fighters against a cage, he'll shoot in on that single, or he'll get the body lock, and he's very good in the body lock at just controlling against the cage. He'll work to the back, and he doesn't really try to put the hooks in or take full back. He'll just kind of ride guys out from standing from there. He can be controlling the clinch a bit himself and take it down, though. It seems like his physicality isn't there against certain guys. But the thing about him is he has great cardio, and he's very dangerous in the scrambles. So even if you're able to out-grapple him, take him down to the ground, things like that, it's very dangerous to, try to take him down, be in a continuous grappling situations with Harris, because he can catch that front choke. He has really long arms, sick Darcis, sick anacondas. We saw it in his last fight. And he can wrestle for 5 rounds. He doesn't slow down with his pacing. That's another thing that's very important. I don't feel like he's the most overwhelming grappler in terms of he's just going to dominate you and finish you on the ground. But he is dangerous in those scrambles, and also I feel like he's just really hard to get away from. When he gets connected to you, it's just, he's sticking to you like glue, man. So that's kind of his game, and he is a little bit older. He's not almost 35, but he's 34 years old, just turned 34. And I do feel like on the feet he has some, defensive issues. He does overextend on a lot of his strikes as well, which Kasangana could take advantage of with counters. Impa, on the feet, to me, he's kind of stiff, a little bit slow. I do think Harris is going to have a pretty good speed advantage in this one. And I feel like, Impa, though, has the better boxing. He has a good left hook. He throws some pretty nice combinations on the inside. And he's going to be wanting to pressure, kind of try to get in Carlson's face, not let him be dynamic, and make it an uglier fight, get him in the clinch, knee him a little bit, show that you're the stronger guy in there, and then choose your boxing combos. Try to start countering him when he overextends, work the leg kicks. Impa isn't a big leg kicker, but that's something that in this fight I feel like Sanford MMA will have him doing. And just try to defensively grapple. I wouldn't really grapple too much offensively, just because, like I said, Harris is very dangerous. And, just try to outbox him, maybe outwork him in the clinch a little bit and win that way. So I do feel like it's a close fight, because I feel like Kasanganay gets a little bit undervalued now because of that loss to Buckley, and because he's had some performances where he maybe hasn't looked the best. But we have to remember, he's very young in his career. He's going to be improving. Now he's at the great camp. So he could come out here and, just out-physical Carlson Harris, beat him with the boxing and win a decision. But I'm going to go with the slight underdog here. He was like a plus 155. He's gotten bet down almost to a pick-em now at this point. But still going to pick Carlson Harris just because Impa's green. I feel like Harris is a lot more experienced. He's fought better fighters. And he's going to have the speed advantage on the feet. He's a little bit more dynamic, not as stiff. And he's more dangerous with his grappling. So even though I think Impa has the better boxing and probably the better wrestling, Carlson could force him into a mistake. Carlson, could control in that body lock as well. Impa, his defensive wrestling is good but not great. And I just trust Harris a little more in this spot. So I'm going to go with Carlson Harris. And up next here we got a female fight with Erin Blanchfield making her UFC debut, taking on Sarah Alpar. And Blanchfield actually got signed back in April. She was going to face Norma Dumont on short notice, but Dumont missed weight pretty badly. The fight got scrapped, and she is one of the best prospects in women's MMA, Blanchfield. She's only 22 years old, so very young girl, but she's out there training at that Renzo Gracie gym. She's training at Nick Catone, so she's getting work in there with Kaylin Chukagian, Sajara Eubanks, Gedalia, some really good girls. And Sarah Alpar, she's going to be looking to put her best foot forward after kind of a whirlwind year for her. She got married. She was able to debut in the UFC, and it didn't go well for her debut. She got knocked out against Jessica Rose Clark, and then she had 2 fights that were canceled back-to-back in late 2020. And decided to put that GoFundMe up for her camp expenses. And, Jake Paul Triller blessed her. She was able to raise $35,000. And obviously, that goes a long way in a training camp and just probably motivation, thinking that she has people backing her and she has to, make good on that. So I feel like she is going to come in here and probably start out really aggressive and try to push the pace and do well here. And she does have some skills. Alpar, a little bit awkward on the feet. She is a little bit slow, ploddy, doesn't really pose much of a threat. I feel like Blanchfield on the feet is significantly better footwork. And even though Blanchfield as well, I don't think she's the greatest striker. She has a pretty tricky head kick. She, in my opinion, has the better hand. She's a little bit faster, better footwork, and she's a little bit more aggressive on the feet than Alpar. So I do think that she has Alpar beat standing. Where Alpar probably is going to try to take this fight and use her best weapon is the wrestling. We've seen Erin Blanchfield in her loss to Tracy Cortez taken down and controlled, even though she was throwing up a lot of submissions off of her back. That's something that Blanchfield is very good at. She's a good grappler. Obviously, she trains over there with Henzo. She trained with the Danaher Death Squad when they were down there. And Blanchfield has shown the ability to go out there and beat grapplers. She beat Kay Hansen. So she, is a good wrestler in her own right. She has good timing, good takedowns, but I feel like early on, Alpar's probably going to be a little bit stronger. She's 30 years old, and she is a good wrestler. So maybe early on, I think Alpar is going to be able to get her against that cage, control her a little bit, maybe even hit a takedown. But I don't think she's going to be able to get much meaningful offense off on the ground or in the clinch. And I think that Blanchfield is going to wear on her a little bit by, making it hard to take her down, maybe doing a little bit of work with knees, with elbows in the clinch, throwing up some subs off her back, making Alpar work to defend, to scramble. And I think that Alpar's going to get a little bit tired going in that second and third round, and that's where Blanchfield's going to start to take over a little more with their striking and make it clear that she's the winner in this fight. And the pick for me is going to be Erin Blanchfield. The line, minus 325, that's a lot of respect for Blanchfield in this one. But let's see what happens. I do think that she's a good prospect. I feel like she's actually a better prospect than Miranda Maverick, even, who, I'm not going to say she's better than Miranda Maverick right now, but I just feel like she has more potential. So I do see a lot in Erin Blanchfield, and give me cold-blooded to pick up this win in our first UFC fight. Man, up next here we got Montel Jackson taking on JP Bays, and I just want to know, man, who's JP Bays' manager, man? Like, what the fuck, bro? You're going to lose your debut, get beat down by Bruno Silva, like, not even be that competitive at flyweight. Then you're going to move up to bantamweight and fight Montel Jackson. You're going to be a plus 400 underdog. Man, you probably could have got him a better fight there, brother, but he's going to have 5-inch height advantage. Jackson's going to have a 8.5-inch reach advantage. And on the feet, he's going to be significantly better. He's very fast with his hands. He has good kicks, super dynamic, explosive guy, knockout power. And JP Bays, his striking is alright, but I just don't think he's even close to the level that Montel Jackson is, striking-wise. JP Bays, he's going to have to rely on his wrestling, man, but the thing is, he doesn't have the cardio to grapple hard for 3 rounds. Jackson has shown the cardio, but Jackson has shown an ability to, be nonchalant, and against certain wrestlers, Brett Johns, Ricky Simone, he's allowed himself to lose the fights by just getting taken down continuously. So JP Bays, I guess, does have a path to victory in that way. He should have better cardio maybe at 135 and be a little bit better there in that division, but I just can't pick him against Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson has fought way better fighters. He is a very dynamic, explosive, dangerous guy. He has knockout power. JP Bays has kind of shown that his chin is a little bit weak. And Jackson, he's just not the easiest guy to take down and control or finish. So I don't see Bays being able to blitz him and get him out in that first round with the grappling, barrage. So I think that Jackson is just going to eventually be able to find that kill shot, get that knockout. So give me Montel Jackson in this one to get the job done. And in this next one, we got a short notice fight with 2 guys making their UFC debut, in Nikolas Motta and Cameron VanCamp. Nikolas Motta was expecting to fight Jim Miller in this spot, so he was going to get a huge name. He was going to get a guy that he could have, really jumped into relevancy if he got the win over. And now he's fighting Cameron VanCamp, so I don't think he's going to have a letdown spot. It's obviously his UFC debut. He's going to be pumped either way, but it is a big, pretty significant change in terms of, obviously, not that many people know who VanCamp is, but he's a very experienced guy. He has over 20 fights. And, he's a big guy as well. He's going to be significantly bigger than Nikolas Motta. But the thing about Nikolas Motta, he's very good striker, man. He had a solid regional scene career as well. He fought on Ultimate Fighter Brazil Season 4, and he was able to win the Cage Fury UFC title. He beat Joe Selecki. He has a win over Cesar Balmaceda. So he's dangerous. I mean, he has that equalizer in his right hand. Brutal knockout power. Pretty basic on the feet. He comes forward, tries to look for that left hook or the right hand. He's a really good counter guy with the right hand. Pretty good job using high kicks to back guys up, control the center. And when he backs guys towards the cage, that's where he'll let go with his combinations. He will end combinations with head kicks, and he's been able to get quite a few knockouts. He's able to knock out a guy like Joe Selecki, who's a good striker or a good fighter. And Motta, the thing about him, though, is his grappling has not really been tested. I was able to see Juan Gonzalez take him down pretty easily, but once Motta started to kind of get the rhythm, he started to defend the takedowns. And he has been trained at Factory X. He trained with Glover Teixeira for a while at his gym. He does have that win over Joe Selecki, and it was a third-round knockout. So I don't know what was going in the first 2 rounds, but he obviously had to survive that grappling barrage at least a little bit. And that's what Cameron VanCamp is going to bring. Cameron VanCamp on the feet, he's very hittable, very wild, super aggressive, just comes forward, wants to brawl to create a takedown entry. And he has pretty good wrestling, good top game. Defensive wrestling isn't really that good. I've seen him taken down, controlled. I've seen him reversed and off of his back. He doesn't look like the strongest guy there. But on top, if he gets there, he's very dangerous. Good ground and pound, good back taker, good submission game. And another thing, though, about him that I don't really like for him in this fight is he's going to be sucking down to 155. So if he can make the weight and look good, I mean, he's going to be a big 155er. But the last time he tried to fight at 155 was in 2015. He fought Thomas Gifford. He got hurt really quickly and eventually got submitted in less than a minute. So I feel like potentially coming in here on short notice, that weight cut, he's just going to be a little bit drained, probably not 100%. And he comes in here in all of his fights and pushes a crazy pace, really goes for the kill on the ground. And I think Motta is going to make him pay for his wildness on the feet, catch him and knock him out. And I think it's going to be probably early in the fight that it happens. So I'm going to go with Nikolas Motta in this, but I just feel like Cameron VanCamp, if he had a full fight camp and was able to come in here, and then maybe he'd have a chance. But short notice, having to drop down and wait for the first time in almost 7 years. And I just feel like Motta is the guy that should get the win here and should get the finish. And we got another women's fight here. This one should be a good one. We got Raquel Pennington taking on Pannie Kianzad. And Raquel Pennington, this is going to be her first chance to win 2 fights in a row in almost 5 years on Saturday night. And it's going to be tough, though. I mean, Pannie Kianzad's won 4 fights in a row. But Pennington, she's been in the UFC since the beginning. She's been in there with the cream of the crop. And all 5 of Raquel Pennington's losses in the UFC came against former or current UFC champions. For Pannie Kianzad, like I said, she's won 4 fights in a row. And she's looking better than ever. She's only 29 years old, and she has a lot of experience. So maybe she's all putting it together now, reaching her prime. And she's beaten 3 borderline top 15 opponents in a row. So now she's getting that big step up in competition, facing a girl like Raquel Pennington who's been around that title, has fought for the title before, has wins over former UFC titleist, UFC champions. So Raquel is a girl that's been around. When you're looking at the fight, to me, it's kind of like a bit of a mirror match. It's 2 girls that are strong, physical for the division, that like to box and clinch up with you and win in the clinch. So they're both very similar. It's just going to be who's better at that game. Raquel Pennington, I mean, she has that really good jab. She'll triple jab her way into range, and her right hand is pretty good. She isn't really explosive, but she can close the distance kind of surprisingly fast with her combinations. She wants to pull you into that right hand all the time, or kind of close the gap and work her hands in the pocket. Isn't really a big combination puncher, but she does land fairly well on the inside. Fighters who can kick and move, keep the fight at range, kind of pot trap Pennington, or catcher she tries to come in are successful against her. But Pennington's really durable. I mean, she's proven that she could take the biggest shots off the biggest power punchers in the division. And, you know, what she does is if she's struggling in the striking, she will try to clinch up with you. She's very strong in the clinch. She doesn't really have the best takedowns. I mean, most of her fights do play out on the feet. But she does have a good guillotine, a couple submission wins when she was able to get on top. And Pannie Kianzad, I mean, she's very sharp with her hands. Good 1-2s, good 3-2s. She's good at moving backwards and striking, which I think is going to be a big factor in this matchup. And she also is strong in the clinch, where I feel like she needs to bring this fight. I feel like Raquel Pennington, she's really good in the clinch, but she doesn't have the best offense there. And she can be controlled. We saw that against Holly Holm. We've seen that in other fights of hers. And I think Kianzad is a little bit stronger, a little bit better in that clinch. I think on the feet with the boxing, it's going to be very competitive, very close. But I think Kianzad's a little bit sharper, a little bit more powerful with her punches. And she could strike moving backwards, hit Raquel a little bit, and mix in the clinch. Then I think Pannie's going to be able to get it done. And if you've been watching the channel, man, I mean, we've been racking out on Pannie, you know, picking her every time as a slight underdog, slight favorite. And she's been getting the job done. I mean, I feel like she's in a better trajectory in her career. She's not 30 yet. She's on a 4-fight win streak. And I think she's going to get over on Raquel Pennington. The thing about Raquel, though, is she's kind of been able to beat these girls that are, you know, not at kind of trying to get to that level, like Irene Aldana. She was able to get that win over her. So it's a good matchup, but I think Pannie Kianzad can get over that hump, man. I really do. I think that her boxing is good enough, and her clinch game, more specifically, is what's going to win her this fight. So I'm going to go with Pannie Kianzad to get the job done here. And up next here, we got a battle of two strikers with Tafon Nchukwi taking on Mike Rodriguez. And Tafon Nchukwi is moving back up to 205. He had a 2-fight stint at middleweight, and he won one, lost one. But before the UFC, he even fought at heavyweight, and I feel like he probably felt like the weight club made him sluggish. He didn't really look too good in that division, in my opinion. He did suffer his first loss in his last fight against Jun Young Park, so I think that led to him wanting to move back up to 205. But Mike Rodriguez, he's been very inconsistent. He's had some good performances, but has been largely underwhelming. I mean, he's lost 3 of 4 fights on paper, even though his loss to Ed Herman isn't really a loss. And in his last fight, he got dominated. He got submitted in the second round. If you look at his record, he's kind of a first-round or bust type of fighter. He's won both of his UFC fights by first-round knockout. 9 of his 11 wins are first-round knockouts, and he's 0-3 in decisions if you count his no-contest loss to John Alon. In fights that have gone past the first round, Rodriguez is only 1-5, so really shows you what his style is. When I'm looking at this fight, though, I got Tafon Nchukwi, and I'm pretty confident because ultimately Tafon Nchukwi, he's a guy that maybe is a little bit slow and he a little bit plotty, stiff. He comes in and guys can pick him off at range. So early on, Mike Rodriguez might have some success with some jabs, with some kicks, or some crosses. But Tafon, he's sturdy, man. He attacks the body well. He's constantly coming forward. He could keep that same pace for 3 rounds. And I think it'd be smart of him in this fight to mix in the clinch. I mean, he's very strong in the clinch. He has good takedowns. And if he can get on top of Mike Rodriguez, I think the fight could be over. So I just think Tafon Nchukwi, when I'm looking at the fight and looking at the way that both guys are going to move and just do their thing, I feel like for Rodriguez, maybe he's going to want to try to get that Muay Thai clinch, work his elbows, work those knees, because he's going to have a pretty significant height advantage, and then just try to pick him off at range. But I think Nchukwi is going to be attacking that body, coming forward, throwing big punches. I think Rodriguez is a little bit chinny as well. Durability, in my opinion, definitely goes to Nchukwi. And I just feel like he's going to want it more as well. I think that Rodriguez slows down as the fight goes on pretty significantly. And I see Nchukwi starting to really wear on him, beat him down. And I think that, you know, if he can get it to the ground, he could finish the fight. He could land a big shot and finish the fight by knockout. And I just lean more towards the side of Nchukwi. Even though he had a bad performance his last time out, I think that he's going to bounce back here, back at 205, and do well. So give me Nchukwi to pick up the win by, you know, breaking down Rodriguez and probably finishing him late. In this next one, we got Joaquim Buckley is going to be making his comeback, taking on Antonio Arroyo. And Buckley, man, he needs to rebound. He got knocked out for the second time in 4 UFC fights. And obviously he's made a huge impact since joining the UFC. He has been finished by strikes in 3 of his 4 losses and 2 of his 2 losses in the UFC, so that's not a good look. Arroyo, he's kind of in a desperate situation. He lost his first his first 2 UFC fights, and he's not really gotten any favors from the matchmakers. He's gotten 2 high-level grapplers for his first 2 fights, so at least with this matchup, he's a fighter that is going to probably want to keep it on the feet and mix it up with them. But if I'm Buckley, man, I'm going to tell him to shoot it on the legs, look for takedowns as soon as possible. I mean, Buckley, really explosive guy who comes forward and has Mike Tyson kind of style on the feet. He's southpaw, long reach, high guard, head movement, punches his way into range. He'll rip body head combinations. But he loads up on a lot of his shots. He can get hit in the pocket entering range. His chin is a bit suspect. Can duck into kicks. And I mean, he needs to use explosion to back Arroyo up, clinch him against the cage. From there, he doesn't really have the best wrestling in the world, but he can hit takedowns, and that could go a long way to winning this fight. He also pushes the pace. He has good cardio, and he needs to try to grapple early here to slow down Arroyo, get away from those dangerous weapons, and then start to maybe take over with the striking later on in the fight. Arroyo has finished 8 of his 9 wins in that first round, so getting out of that round for Buckley makes his chances of winning go up exponentially. Because for Antonio Arroyo, I mean, in that first round, he's going to be looking to counter with his counter punches. Even though he rarely punches, he's really mainly a kicker. Really heavy low kicks, body kicks, head kicks, front kicks, spins. So he's very dynamic with his attack. But I feel like, he gets very tired because he's moving around a lot. He's jumping in and out. He's throwing a lot of spinning attacks, all kicks mainly, not a lot of hands, and just can't sustain that cardio over a 3-round period. So he's going to have to go out there early and land that kill shot on Buckley with the head kick, with the counter right hand, counter left hand. And he can do it. I mean, Arroyo's a big guy, throws heavy, and, he is going to have the potential to do that. But I just feel like I got to trust Buckley more, man. It's kind of a chin versus cardio type of fight, and I just feel like Buckley is going to be smart with this one. He's going to get in the clinch, like you said, wear on Arroyo early. I think he's going to beat up the body a little bit to slow him down, and I think eventually Arroyo's going to be too tired to really hurt Buckley too badly, and Buckley can start to open up with the striking a little bit more, land some big shots, and kind of get the win. So I'm going to go with Buckley to get back on track, but this is one of these fights where I feel like value-wise, maybe the value is on Antonio Arroyo, man, because he could potentially just get that finish in the first round by knockout. Buckley is a little bit suspect in that way, but the pick for me is going to be Buckley here. In this next fight, we got Nate Maness coming here taking on Tony Gravely. Kind of a clash of styles here with the grappler versus striker style. Nate Maness, I picked him in both of his first 2 UFC fights. He's gotten the job done in both of them, so he's been doing fairly well. And Tony Gravely, he has also won 2 fights in a row in the UFC. He did drop his UFC debut to Brett Johns, but it was a very competitive fight that I believe he was actually winning until he got submitted in that 3rd round. And so this should be a good one. I mean, Nate Maness, his last fight, he fought Luke Sanders. He lost that first round pretty convincingly. He got hurt a couple times, but was able to compose himself and get that 2nd round knockout. And in this fight, that's what Maness is really going to have, in my opinion, that puncher's chance with the right hand, with the left hand. He's very long and rangy, and he has some power, but stands tall. I feel like he's going to struggle with the speed of Tony Gravely on the feet, and Gravely is good at feigning, faking the level change, coming over the top with punches, going in with the takedown, keeping you off balance, and I don't really see Gravely being able to deny the takedown attempts either. I think Maness, I think Gravely, he stands tall, and he's southpaw, which makes him pretty quick. He has that good left body kick, good left straight, pretty strong in the clinch. His takedown defense, especially against the cage, is pretty strong. But if you take him down in space, he struggles to get back up to his feet. Against Johnny Munoz Jr., we did see him get dominated in that first round. And I do think Maness was very close to getting finished at the end of that first round. Gravely, he's a guy that is a fantastic wrestler. He chains his attacks really well. He does get a little bit tired because he can push a high pace, but I think that, with more and more experience, he's only going to get better with that. And I just feel like Gravely's style is tough for Nate Maness, because Nate Maness, he, wants to counter you, but he's the slower guy here in this fight, so it's going to be tough, man. I think that Gravely is going to be able to use his speed, keep him off balance with the wrestling, put him on his back, and kind of just have a comprehensive, pretty dominant victory here. I like Nate Maness. I actually like his style. I think he's a fun guy to watch, but I just think this is a bad matchup for him. With this next one, what is there really to say on this one? We got a gigantic minus 800 favorite in Arman Tsarukyan taking on Christos Giagos. And, Christos Giagos, for being as good of a fighter as he is, see him at a plus 550, underdog plus 540. Decent odds. The guy is pretty big for the division. He has good movement, solid striking. This is a guy that we did see, win a round against Charles Oliveira. He arguably won that first round against Charles DuBronx. So, early on, he's very good. He can wrestle as well. He's shown that in his recent fights. He even got a submission his last time out. And, he's improving everywhere. I feel like his confidence is going up. But Tsarukyan, man, he's a young guy, next level athlete. He's really good on the feet, very dynamic, great kicker, solid boxing, good movement, can wrestle, can grapple, great cardio, looks in fantastic shape right now. And, I just think he's going to push the pace here with Giagos. I think early on there might be some grappling exchanges that are fun, but I think Giagos is going to poop out and, get tired. And Tsarukyan's going to keep pushing that pace, to keep doing his thing, and start dominating the fight. I don't know if he's going to be able to get a finish, but I do think that, he's going to win, and he's going to look like a big favorite. So, Tsarukyan for me is the pick. Don't really have a ton to say about it. Giagos isn't super dangerous guy, so I find it tough for me to see him getting the win in this one. And up next here we got the debut of Mandy Bohm. She's going to be taking on Ariane Lipski. And Ariane Lipski, she's been a bust in the UFC so far. She's gone 2-4. She's shown no improvement throughout her career. Her last two fights were really bad looks. She got taken down, finished on the ground. And Mandy Bohm, this is going to be her UFC debut. She's actually been trying to make her UFC debut for a while now. And obviously the UFC maybe thinks pretty highly of Bohm. They scheduled her to face Tyler Santos. And then now they're matching her with Ariane Lipski on a main card. So, they might see something in Mandy Bohm. But Mandy Bohm has not really faced a lot of high-level fighters. She did get a win in the TKO promotion against Jade Wong, who was 3-0. She did follow that up with a victory in Bellator. Her striking is improving. She's light on her feet. She throws some good counters. She likes the left hook, the right cross. She has some decent low kicks. And she holds her hands low. She does pull back with her chin high. And I've seen her drop before in fights, but technically she's improved quite a bit. She's just slow, and that's going to be an issue for her against Lipski, who hits hard and is pretty fast. From what I've seen, Bohm does have a solid chin, but she just eats shots clean. I do expect Mandy to grapple in this fight. Her wrestling isn't the greatest, but she's improving with her clinch takedowns, and she's strong when she can get the double underhook position. She has good trips, good knees, good elbows, good control against the fence. She was able to use her grappling to defeat Jade Wong at TKO 48. She got the takedowns, took the back, eventually found the rear naked choke. Her takedown defense is average. I don't think she's going to have to worry about takedowns from Lipski in this fight. But she is an attacking guard. For Lipski, it's all about the striking. She's called the violence queen for a reason. She comes forward, throws hard crosses, hard overhands, big hooks. She has big power in her punches, throws some nice kicks. But very flat-footed, wants to just stand right in front of you and go to war. Doesn't deal well with movers, doesn't deal well with girls that could take her down, is a fish out of water off of her back. And I don't expect to see any improvements, man, because I haven't seen any throughout her career at all. She's, getting dominated on the ground by a kickboxer that's gotten exposed on the ground so badly in Antonina Shevchenko. So it's like, I just don't think that Lipski is going to show many improvements. She does have her back against the wall here a little bit. But I'm actually going to go with Mandy Bohm. I think that Mandy is going to be able to use the grappling, get it to the ground, and win that way. So on the feet, she has to be careful. She could get knocked out, to be honest. But I think that Bohm is going to be able to get it to the ground and probably get the finish. And up next here, we got the co-main event. And, man, I mean, it's a bad with two flakes right here, man. We got Cutelaba taking on Devin Clark. And they're kind of different in the way that they can give up fights, but just neither guy is trustworthy. I mean, we got Cutelaba, who is the ultimate hammer. I mean, the guy goes out there and in the fights he wins, he usually just dominates, dusts you in the first round. It's very little resistance and very quick fights. He goes out there, he gets his job done, he gets his paycheck, he goes home early, right? But when fights go long, when, he starts getting backed up, he starts getting hit, you see him wilt real quick, man. He doesn't like getting bullied. When you bully the bully, he starts to kind of give in a little bit, and that's what happens with Cutelaba. So when fights get out of that first round, his gas tank goes down significantly. You could start to walk him down. He, isn't the best with his defensive wrestling, and if you do put him on his back, he looks pretty weak there. And that's what Devin Clark's going to be trying to do, and, get out of that first round and, push him. But for Devin Clark, he actually has pretty good cardio, I would say. I mean, I think that, he can grind for 3 rounds. He's a really strong wrestler, but he doesn't like getting put on the back foot. When you pressure him, he can kind of wilt a little bit, and he's not a very durable guy. I don't think he likes getting hit too much. He can kind of look for the way out. When, he gets threatened with submissions on the ground, it seems like he's kind of part of that quick tap club type of thing. He isn't someone that's going to really try to fight out of that sub. So both these guys kind of have, mental deficiencies and deficiencies in their game. So it makes it hard to really trust either guy here. I mean, Cutelaba on the feet early on, is good boxing. He throws those wild spinning attacks that are pretty dangerous. He has good elbows. His takedown defense is good early. I mean, he's hard to take down. We saw him stuff a lot of takedowns from Antigulov, from Glover Teixeira, from fighters like that. So when he's fresh, he can stuff the takedowns and go to work. And in recent fights, he's actually been wrestling a lot more offensively. Like, I believe he got 8 takedowns against Dustin Jacoby. He took down Khalil Roundtree, pounded him out. So I do think that potentially his grappling might be even improved defensively. But Devin Clark, I mean, on the feet, he kind of just throws these big, wild shots to close the distance, get into the clinch. And he has a good double leg. He has good takedowns against the cage, good cardio, and he can kind of grind his way to victories. So that's how both guys win. So really, I mean, when you look at the fight and when you look at a lot of Cutelaba's fights, it's just going to be, can he get him out of there in that first round? Can he overwhelm Devin Clark and take him out? Or is Devin Clark going to be able to survive? And in that second and third round, is his wrestling going to become more prevalent and he's going to be able to pull out the fight? So who really knows, man? But I'm going to go with Cutelaba, first round knockout. I just think that he's going to come out there, he's going to pressure, he's going to really try to put it on Devin Clark, and Devin Clark's going to wilt a little bit and let Cutelaba get that victory. So give me Cutelaba, but this fight could go either way, to be honest with you, I feel like. And then finally, we got the main event here. Before I do the breakdown, I just want to say, let's try to get 300 likes on this video, guys. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and let's try to run the like us on this video. I really would appreciate it. And put down who do you think is your most confident pick on this card, and who do you think is going to win this main event? Because I feel like it could be a little bit split. Anthony Smith is the favorite, but Ryan Spann, huge guy, very dynamic. He is going to have a pretty big size advantage in this fight, and he is going to have the speed advantage, in my opinion. He has the wrestling advantage as well. So he has some advantages. Anthony Smith, he obviously is a big-time veteran. He's been in this main event spot multiple times, whereas Ryan Spann has not been. This is going to be his first main event in the UFC. And Anthony Smith has been in there with legends. He's been 5 rounds. He's had more experiences than Ryan Spann has. Ryan Spann has actually gone 5 rounds as well in the LFA, but obviously, he hasn't faced nearly the same name value type of guys that Anthony Smith has. He doesn't have the same level of wins. But Ryan Spann's a guy that, in my opinion, gets a little bit underrated. And it just comes down to some little things, man. I mean, the guy has bad fight IQ. Like, that's something that can be corrected. But when you fight, like, not smart, man, it's hard to trust you in any situation. It's like, he has that fight with Johnny Walker, for instance, right? He's dominating the fight. He's beating the guys very easily. And he's going for these takedowns. And he's had this issue multiple times in the past, where he leaves his head on the outside, he leaves his head very susceptible to those elbows, and he doesn't move his head, man. He just stays in that same position, and I don't know if he's waiting for the ref to, say, oh, you're hitting him in the back of the head or what, but Carl Roberson finished him in that position with elbows. Johnny Walker finished him in that position with elbows. And it's just like, man, you got to learn, man. You got to learn eventually. You got to get out of there. The ref isn't going to always save you or protect you, even if the shots were to the back of the head. But Ryan Spann, at range, he's a dangerous striker. He's a guy that has grappling skills. He has a good submission game. He could wrestle. He is a really big guy. So he has a lot of pluses. He's a great athlete, super fast. He's going to have the speed advantage over Anthony Smith for sure. And Spann on the feet, though, I mean, he's not really super technical. I do think that Anthony Smith is the much better technician. Ryan Spann likes to kind of pressure forward, and he can explode into these long boxing combinations. He has good combos. He has big power. And Anthony Smith has to be very careful of that uppercut, of the straight right hand. And Spann can put your lights out. But Ryan Spann stands heavy, very heavy on his lead leg. And I think those leg kicks of Anthony Smith are going to be, out to play again, man. I mean, when you get a finish like that in your last fight against Jimmy Crute, definitely feel like he's going to be confident whipping those leg kicks. And they're going to be available against Ryan Spann. So Ryan Spann's going to have to either find a counter on that, get the takedown off the leg kicks, counter with his punches, but you can't let him get leg kicks for free in this fight. And Spann, is kind of deliberate and hittable the way that he enters range. He can overextend, load up on his shots a little bit. So I do feel like over time on the feet, Anthony Smith will start to chip away at this leg kick, start to get his counters going, start to land his jab a little bit and do well. But Anthony is used to being a tall, rangy guy, and this fight is going to be at a 5.5-inch reach disadvantage. We saw when Anthony Smith fought John Jones, and I'm not trying to compare them, but the reaches, were similar, and Anthony Smith kind of got nullified. He didn't really do much in that fight. But, in terms of the wrestling, I do feel like Ryan Spann should try to take him down, man. I think that should be his game plan to victory. Hit the takedowns, get on top, control. You have really good grappling. I mean, I think Ryan Spann has some underrated grappling. We saw him almost arm triangle Nogueira. His timing on the body locks are really good. He has really good defensive wrestling. He has that nasty guillotine that he catches guys with. That's probably his best weapon. And Anthony Smith is really good off of his back. He could catch guys at submissions that are, not as polished on the ground. But I don't necessarily see him being able to catch Ryan Spann in a submission unless Ryan Spann gets tired and gets sloppy, or, maybe gets hurt and then gets submitted. But I feel like Ryan Spann is very big, very strong, passes the guard very well. He knows how to position himself on the ground. And he has been submitted, but it was against Robert Drysdale, who's one of the best American Jiu-Jitsu fighters of all time. So, to me, I mean, that's not something to be too ashamed about. Anthony Smith, the one thing about Anthony Smith that you can trust, that you can't trust with Ryan Spann, is his cardio is going to hold up. He's going to be there throughout the whole fight. Ryan Spann gets a lot of early finishes and kind of struggles in later round fights. Anthony Smith can take a beating and come back. And I just feel like with this fight, I think Ryan Spann should grapple here. I think he could have success getting a few takedowns early, controlling on top, maybe land some big shots. But Anthony Smith is probably going to weather the storm like always. I don't necessarily think Spann's going to be able to get too much damage off or, do much if he gets a takedown. I think it's just going to be a more control thing. And I think he might get tired, so I think that third round, Anthony Smith might start getting off of those leg kicks a little bit more effectively, start to, do his thing, and we see Ryan Spann get knocked out maybe. I mean, we saw him get hurt against Sam Alvey in that third round. Looked like he was getting a little bit tired. I don't really trust him to go 5. So I'm just leaning with the experience of Anthony Smith here, but I like Ryan Spann. I mean, he's a guy that I picked against Johnny Walker, and then after that I said I wouldn't pick him again, but I picked him again against Misha, and he came through for me. I feel like he has, a lot of good things going for him, and if he can get his mental right and, his cardio, just some things shaped up, he could become a force, man. It'd be dangerous for anyone in the division, but at this point, at this juncture, I'm still going to pick Anthony Smith. Just from what I've seen, I think the leg kicks are going to be a big issue. I think he's a little bit smoother on the feet, good counter striker. He's getting better at controlling the distance with his jab, with his right hand. And, I think if he gets taken down, he can control the position, kind of take care of himself, not take much damage. Ryan Spann isn't a big leg kicker, which is something that you always have to talk about with Anthony Smith because he struggled really badly with that. Spann only has thrown one leg kick in all of his UFC fights combined, so kind of just shows you. So I'm going to go with Anthony Smith by third round KO TKO in this one, but I feel like this fight could go either way, to be honest with you, but going to pick Anthony Smith here. So there you have it, guys, but for my parlay of the week, it's going to be Tony Gravely and Erin Blanchfield. For my most confident pick of the week, it's going to be Arman Tsarukyan. And there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Let's get 300 likes on this video.